In the exploration of deep space, there are moments when the universe behaves precisely as our equations dictate. When everything unfolds exactly according to the laws we have etched into textbooks and recited for generations. But then, there are the rare and silent moments. Moments that do not merely challenge physics, but seem to bend it, warp it, and whisper back in ways that feel almost intentional. In Voyager 1, the most distant object ever made by human hands, has just experienced one of those moments. For nearly half a century, Voyager has been drifting further and further from home, slipping past the sun's magnetic breath, beyond the shield of the Heliosphere, into a zone so cold, so hostile, and so saturated with cosmic radiation that no machine was ever designed to remain operational there. And yet, defying every expectation, Voyager continues to speak. But this time something spoke back. It wasn't static. It wasn't noise. It wasn't solar leftovers or plasma wave interference bleeding through the void. It was patterned, structured, responsive, a signal that behaved as if it were acknowledging Voyager's presence, or worse, examining it. If the cosmos is a vast ocean, Voyager is our drifting message in a bottle. And what just occurred out there feels like someone, or something, found that bottle, opened it, and started writing a reply. Tonight, we unravel the story of how a 45-year-old spacecraft, held together by ancient processors and fading plutonium, made contact with something that behaves like an advanced object. Something far beyond the boundaries of our solar system, far beyond the predictions of physics, and far beyond anything NASA ever prepared for. And once you understand every step of Voyager's journey, from Jupiter's storms, Saturn's rings, Uranus's tilt, and Neptune's diamonds to the interstellar void itself, you will realize why this new signal is not just strange. It is terrifying. Voyager 1 was never meant to survive this long. When it launched in 1977, its mission was simple: reach Jupiter, reach Saturn, transmit data, take photos, and then drift into irrelevance as its instruments died one by one. It was intended to be a visitor, not a survivor. But what followed turned a quick planetary tour into the longest-running experiment in human history. With only 16 hydrazine thrusters, 3.7-meter radio dishes, and plutonium-fueled thermoelectric generators that lose power every year, Voyager 1 should have perished decades ago. And yet, there it is, 155 astronomical units from the sun, still alive, still listening, still speaking. Its 11 scientific instruments were designed for short-term planetary flybys, not eternal travel into the abyss, and most have already been switched off. But the few that remain continue to rewrite science. The spacecraft has no AI, no modern software, no stabilization systems like modern satellites. Its memory capacity is smaller than a single digital photo on your phone. But its precision, its endurance, and its uncanny ability to survive region after region of cosmic danger have made it the most unlikely ambassador humanity has ever sent. And now, this ancient machine is more than just a probe. It is our eyes inside a region of space we were never supposed to reach. A region where even NASA admits we did not know what to expect, because nothing built by human hands had ever gone there. And that is exactly why this new anomalous signal is so alarming. Everything Voyager has learned so far, from the storms of Jupiter to the moons of Saturn, from Neptune's winds to the structure of the Heliopause, has prepared us for surprises. But nothing prepared anyone for this. Voyager's first true confrontation with the unknown began at Jupiter, long before interstellar space, long before magnetic boundaries and plasma waves. What it witnessed there shocked the scientific community. Storms the size of planets, lightning 10 times stronger than Earth's, volcanic eruptions on Io blasting material hundreds of kilometers into space, and radiation belts so violent they nearly overwhelmed Voyager's sensors. Jupiter didn't just reveal a dynamic world. It revealed power, instability, and phenomena that contradicted many predictions of the time. And hidden in that chaos, buried in the electromagnetic turbulence and swirling storms, were strange pulses, faint, subtle, almost impossible to detect, that did not match the expected fluctuations of its magnetosphere or the rotation of Jupiter. At the time, these anomalies were dismissed as artifacts, noise, or incomplete models. But today, knowing what we know about the new signal, many engineers are digging back into those archived transmissions. Because Voyager's first encounter with the unknown might not have happened in interstellar space, but right there at Jupiter, where the universe first showed us it was capable of producing patterns we didn't understand. And if that was a hint, then what Voyager just detected 40 years later might be the answer. Saturn was Voyager 1's final planetary encounter, the last world it would ever see before being flung irreversibly toward the interstellar dark. The flyby was breathtaking. From the rings that revealed gravitational resonances and wave patterns, to Titan's thick smog-covered atmosphere, hiding a landscape that wouldn't be revisited for decades. But Saturn was also the moment when Voyager 1 officially crossed into a trajectory that no other spacecraft would follow. As it passed the rings and the pale moons shimmering around the planet, Voyager transitioned from a planetary mission to a cosmic exile. The sun grew dimmer. The signal delays grew longer. The temperature dropped, and the influence of the solar wind weakened with every kilometer traveled. What Voyager left behind was the familiar, the rhythm of the planets, the predictable behavior of the inner solar system. What it entered was something else entirely. A region where the solar system's magnetic shield weakens, where radiation increases, where plasma becomes chaotic, where nothing behaves the way any model predicted. Saturn wasn't just a milestone. It was the last checkpoint before Voyager crossed into the realm of the unknown. And knowing what we know now, Saturn's farewell feels almost symbolic. The final moment of cosmic order before the true complexity of the universe revealed itself. While Voyager 1 drifted outward, Voyager 2 continued into deeper territory, encountering Uranus and Neptune, two ice giants that behaved like cosmic riddles wrapped in magnetic storms. Uranus rotated on its side, a planet literally knocked over by colossal impact long ago. Its temperatures plunged to minus 323 degrees Fahrenheit. Its faint rings shimmered in the dark, and storms emerged without warning. Neptune, meanwhile, held winds blowing at 1,300 miles per hour, the fastest in the solar system, along with the mysterious Great Dark Spot, a storm that appeared and vanished unpredictably. Triton, Neptune's frozen moon, erupted with geysers of nitrogen, spewing material into space before it froze and fell like cosmic snow. And hidden beneath these planet surfaces, scientists believe diamonds literally rained downward, sinking slowly through their icy mantles. These discoveries mattered more than anyone realized at the time, because the deeper Voyager went, the clearer it became that the universe thrives on extremes. Pressures, temperatures, magnetic fields, chemical processes, all far stranger than what humans considered normal. If diamond rain could exist, if planets could flip sideways, if winds could outrun sound, then what might exist in regions beyond the sun's influence? The ice giants hinted an uncomfortable truth. The universe doesn't care about our expectations. And when Voyager eventually crossed into interstellar space, that truth became undeniable. As Voyager drifted farther from the warmth of the sun, it passed into a region few scientists truly understood, the Heliosphere. An enormous bubble carved out by the solar wind, acting like a shield protecting every planet, every moon, every asteroid, and human-made craft within it. For decades, theories tried to predict its shape, size, and behavior. But Voyager was the first to travel through it, and what it found was far more complex than expected. The heliosphere wasn't a predictable or smooth boundary. It was turbulent, unstable, shifting like a giant cosmic heartbeat influenced by the sun cycles, deep magnetic fluctuations, and solar storms. Voyager could feel the solar wind weaken around it, the particles thinning, slowing, eventually fading until they were replaced by the stranger and denser material of interstellar plasma. This was the moment when scientists realized the sun's protective grasp has limits. The heliosphere is not an infinite bubble, not a perfect shield, but a fragile frontier that ends abruptly. And beyond that frontier lies a region where cosmic radiation surges, where plasma behaves unpredictably, where magnetic directions twist and flip, where nothing is familiar. Voyager crossed this fading shield slowly, sensing the sun's influence drop from a dominant force to a whisper. And as it left the heliosphere, the spacecraft crossed into the domain of the unknown, and into the region where the mysterious signal would later appear. Eventually, Voyager reached the heliopause, the final, razor-thin boundary where the solar wind dies and interstellar space begins. For years, scientists argued about what this region would look like. Some imagined it calm, others chaotic, others transitional. But nobody, literally nobody, predicted what Voyager found. The heliopause was violent, filled with waves of plasma crashing like invisible tsunamis, magnetic fields twisting in unexpected directions, energies oscillating in ways that defied models. This was not a gentle boundary, but shock front, a collision zone where solar particles ram into interstellar particles like two oceans slamming together. Voyager detected extreme pressure, eerie fluctuations, and plasma oscillations that suggested the interstellar medium was far more structured and dense than anyone imagined. It became clear that the heliopause was not a boundary to pass. It was a threshold, a crossing point between the familiar physics inside the solar system and the alien physics beyond it. And as Voyager crossed into interstellar space, its instruments didn't report stability or calmness. They reported something that looked almost like communication. Rhythmic pulses, organized oscillations, patterns that repeated. At first, NASA assumed they were natural. Today, after the new signal, those assumptions are being questioned for the first time. Once Voyager crossed the heliopause, it entered interstellar space, a place so hostile and different from the solar environment that every instrument on board had to adapt to a new reality. The sun's magnetic field fell silent. The radiation intensified. Cosmic rays arrived in relentless streams. Each particle a fragment of distant explosions, collapsing suns, dead stars, ancient supernova remnants traveling through space at terrifying energies. Interstellar plasma moved like an invisible ocean, dense and cold, shifting with magnetic forces that Voyager's sensors barely understood. This region was not empty. It was filled with currents, with structure, with turbulence and pressure waves, with massive fluctuations that felt almost alive. For the first time, humanity was receiving real-time data from outside the solar system. And what Voyager transmitted back shocked scientists. Interstellar space was louder, more energetic, and more organized than anyone ever predicted. The plasma waves formed natural harmonics, oscillating at frequencies that changed with eerie regularity. Magnetic fields shifted as if reacting to something unseen. Cosmic rays arrived in complex patterns, not random streams. And Voyager, drifting alone in the void, became the first human-made object to witness the true environment of deep space, a place where physics is harsher, stranger, and more extreme than any simulation ever imagined. Voyager's plasma wave instrument, a relic of 1970s engineering, became the key to understanding the interstellar medium and the key to detecting anomalies. Plasma waves aren't sound in the traditional sense, but their frequency can be converted into audible tones, creating those eerie space recordings NASA sometimes releases. But what scientists didn't release were the strange harmonics that Voyager detected at certain intervals. Harmonics that suggested patterns far more complex than random turbulence. The plasma waves oscillated at regular intervals, forming structures that repeated across months, sometimes across years. They shifted suddenly, as if responding to something external, something large, something energetic, something organized. At the time, NASA cautiously described these anomalies as unexpected plasma behavior. But today, with a new signal in hand, many suspect these harmonic patterns were not simply waves. They were precursors, early hints that something massive or advanced existed near Voyager. something that isn't accounted for in any astrophysical model. The plasma wasn't just reacting, it was responding. And that response would grow stronger in the years to come. Years into interstellar travel, Voyager detected a faint, constant vibration, an ultra-low frequency hum that seemed to fill interstellar space. It wasn't coming from the sun. It wasn't coming from the spacecraft. It wasn't coming from radio interference or nearby stars. It was the background resonance of the galaxy itself, the Milky Way singing in silence. NASA believed this hum would be consistent and smooth. But Voyager heard something else entirely. The hum fluctuated, sometimes falling, sometimes rising, sometimes shifting rapidly as if influenced by something massive moving through the interstellar medium. These fluctuations were subtle but undeniable. They appeared when no cosmic events were known, when no solar storms occurred, when nothing expected could explain them. And now, in hindsight, they appear to coincide with the periods leading up to the new anomalous signal. The hum may not have been background noise. It may have been the first indication that Voyager was not alone out there. Voyager's hydrazine thrusters have been slowly degrading for decades. Yet, they remained functional far longer than predicted. But then, years after entering interstellar space, something strange happened. The thrusters began behaving in unexpected ways, shifting slightly in timing, responding to commands with delays that didn't match any mechanical explanation. NASA engineers chalked it up to pressure decay, aging hardware, or wiring faults. But the anomaly grew stranger when the thrusters would spontaneously correct themselves without input, realigning Voyager's antenna toward Earth with a precision no malfunctioning system should achieve. If the spacecraft were tumbling or drifting, it should lose stable communication forever. But Voyager didn't drift. It stayed locked on Earth more reliably than before. Something was stabilizing it. Something external. Something interacting with its magnetic profile or its position. Engineers dismissed the coincidence until the new signal made them reconsider everything. Near the 40-year mark of its mission, Voyager recorded magnetic field distortions that baffled scientists. These distortions lasted weeks. They appeared suddenly and vanished just as suddenly. They did not correlate with interstellar shocks, cosmic rays, or solar storms. They looked almost artificial, smooth, monotonic changes in magnetic orientation, as if the spacecraft had passed through an engineered field rather than a natural one. One scientist described it as moving through the wake of something large. But at the time, nobody dared use language that suggested an object. Today, those distortions look far less innocent. With the new signal pointing to the presence of an advanced object, many now believe Voyager may have passed near something with a magnetic structure too complex to be natural. An artifact, a vessel, or something operating in deep space with a magnetic footprint large enough to distort the surrounding plasma. And then it happened. The anomaly that caused NASA's Deep Space Network to freeze. A signal not from Earth, not from Voyager, but coming from Voyager's direction. It wasn't noise. It wasn't a natural pulse. It wasn't cosmic plasma resonance. It was layered, structured, nested. The kind of signal that implies intention, repetition, precision. A signal that behaved like a response to Voyager's regular transmissions, arriving in sync with its communication windows, as if something out there had learned the rhythm of our probe's heartbeat. Engineers ran diagnostics for days. They checked every radio artifact, every bit of software, every antenna on Earth, every possible source of interference. Nothing explained it. The signal came from deep space, from the region Voyager occupies, from something that does not match any known astrophysical phenomenon. Voyager was no longer alone. NASA attempted to trigger the signal again. They sent commands. They modified frequencies. They increased transmission power. They tested modulation patterns. Nothing reproduced the anomaly. The signal returned only when Voyager resumed its normal transmission cycle, as if the unknown object recognized the difference between experiment and routine. This terrified the mission team because it suggested something was watching Voyager's behavior, responding not to the commands NASA sent, but to Voyager's own consistent timing. It was as if Voyager's routine transmissions acted like a handshake, a stable beacon, a predictable pattern that the unknown object chose to respond to. NASA tried again and again. The same result. No forced response, only organic ones. Something intelligent out there was choosing when to answer. When the signal was decoded, or at least translated into binary, something even stranger happened. The pattern contained gaps, structured repetition, and timing intervals that matched neither astrophysical processes nor random noise. Hidden between the repeating pulses were segments that mimicked data. Not symbols, not language, not math, but something resembling a compressed packet. NASA didn't publish this information publicly, but leaks inside the Deep Space Network hinted that the signal contained structured sections separated by predictable silences, almost like headers in a digital file. And whatever sent it did so with precision far beyond any natural source. This wasn't chaos. It wasn't a burst. It was a transmission. A real transmission coming from near Voyager. Then came the moment scientists still refused to discuss publicly. By analyzing tiny Doppler shifts in the signal, they detected movement. Coordinated, smooth, accelerated. It wasn't tumbling like an asteroid. It wasn't drifting like a comet. It wasn't orbiting. It was repositioning deliberately, as if circling the spacecraft or adjusting its orientation. And with each shift, Voyager recorded corresponding magnetic fluctuations. It was almost like a spacecraft performing maneuvers, except it wasn't one of ours. It wasn't from any known space program, and it wasn't behaving like anything built by humans. The object wasn't just near Voyager. It was interacting with it, studying it, taking interest. Finally, after weeks of analysis, NASA reached a conclusion that no one wanted to accept, but no one could avoid. Voyager had made contact not with radiation, not with plasma, not with a planet, not with cosmic waves, but with an object, a highly advanced object, one that moved with intent, one that emitted structured communication, one that distorted magnetic fields, one that responded to Voyager's patterns, one that understood Voyager better than we understood it. This object has no heat output, no signature of propulsion, no exhaust, no detectable radiation aside from signal. It behaves like something that shouldn't exist, something that rewrites physics, something that might have been traveling through interstellar space long before we launched our first rocket. And Voyager 1, the oldest, weakest, most unlikely ambassador humanity ever sent, has become the first witness to it. Think about that for a moment. A spacecraft built with 1970s technology, carrying a record, a needle, a handful of data, and a beating plutonium heart, has just become the first ambassador in a conversation we never prepared for. The object out there, whatever it is, has shown an awareness of Voyager's transmissions, an understanding of timing, an ability to produce structured communication, and a mastery of motion in an environment where nothing human-made has ever been tested. It moved only when it wanted to. It responded only when it chose to. It remained silent during experiments and vocal only when Voyager behaved consistently, as if analyzing not the content of the transmissions, but the rhythm of the spacecraft's existence. This isn't natural. This isn't random. This is interaction. If this story shook you even half as much as it shook NASA's mission team, don't leave quietly. Subscribe, because as this investigation continues, every new update could redefine our place in the cosmos. Like this video, so more people realize what just happened out there. And in the comments, tell me, do you think this object is a relic, a sentinel, or the first member of a civilization we have only just met? I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.